Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Justice for All. Time for Turnabout Big Top, the true finale of Turnabout Big Top. The true finale. I have no idea what I'm talking about sometimes. Words just come out. But this is the finale of Turnabout Big Top. I'm pretty sure it's 2 trials long. Although I don't know who the second person would be. Maybe it's just 2 portions of the same person's thing. Or maybe Regina will come up. I don't remember. December 30th, 9:41 a.m. District Court Defendant Lobby number 5. Good morning, Max. Oh, yeah. Good morning, sweeties. You don't seem like your usual sparkling self today. I'm always like this before I go in front of an audience. I'm working up to it.
Hee. Don't get nervous, Maxie. Here, have a glass of milk. Regina!
Fabulous! My sweetie pie princess! You came to watch my performance today.
Of course I did! Mo told me that I should come and watch this.
Mo said that?
So, what kind of performance will you put on today? Let me guess, you'll fly at the end?
It's not that kind of show. Isn't that right, my sweeties?
Huh?
I think my sweetie pie princess doesn't... Yeah, she doesn't seem to realize what's going on, or even where she is.
Well, Max, it looks like it's time to raise the curtain. I'll see you later. Today I'm just a member of the audience.
Fabulous! Enjoy yourself out there.
Good luck, Max. You're the best. Regina's different, don't you think, Nick?
Top of the morning to ya! Everybody, let's get ready to get stuck in legal limbo. How low can you go? Mo? Top of the morning to you, governor. Top of the morning. That's the ticket. Attack of the day starts with energy in the morning. The early bird gets the worm. Then again, worms lack higher brain function. Ah! Ha! Ah! Here, Max. Brought you a present. Have some milk. Oh, my! Thanks. How are you today, Wright? Well, I've got the feeling that today I'm going to face off against the real culprit. You mean Acro?
Huh? You think he did it?
Be careful. He's used to putting his life on the line. Literally. He's got guts to spare. All I've got to worry about is how thin the tightrope is. I'm used to it already. Just means that I won't be able to press him like I can other witnesses.
What are you going to do then, Nick?
I guess today we'll just have to do without our usual psychological warfare. Today we rely on evidence. The only way we'll get past Acro into the truth.
You're right, but it's gonna be tough.
Anyways, want you to make sure that Regina sees it all today. It's important. Then she'll finally have to deal with the reality of what happened to her father.
You want us to make sure Regina watches?
Yes. That's why I brought her here to court today. What's that supposed to mean? She needs to know that when people die, they don't just become stars. I may be an old-fashioned clown, but I don't believe in people becoming stars. December 30th, 10 a.m. District Court Defendant Courtroom number 2. Court is now in session for the trial of Maximilian Galactica.
The prosecution is ready, Your Honor.
The defense is ready, Your Honor. Very well. Miss Von Karma, you may proceed with your case.
The prosecution would like to revise its previous theory of events.
What's the meaning of this?
We have discovered a new witness, or shall I say, a new eyewitness. One that saw Maximilian Galactica fly off from the scene of the crime.
Order! Order! I had a feeling something like this would come up.
Due to this revision, we are now prepared to explain how the defendant flew that night. An explanation the prosecution will present if the need so arises. In fact, my detectives stayed up all night creating a mock-up of the scene, on my orders.
Poor Gumshoe. Very well. Please call your witness to the stand. Time to get to work, shall I say. Time to walk the courtroom tightrope.
Name and occupation.
Ken Dingling, but everyone calls me Acro. I'm employed as an acrobat at the Berry Big Circus.
Where were you the night of the crime?
I was in my room that night.
If you look at the map, you will see the witness's room is near the crime scene.
My room is on the 3rd floor. The crime scene is below my window.
The night of the crime, the witness saw something quite shocking. Would you tell us what you witnessed?
Okay. What I witnessed. It was just after 10 p.m., and I was resting in my bed. Around that time, I heard a large thump noise from outside the window. Then, a few moments later, I saw someone flying right by my window. It was Max Galactica. I only saw him from behind, but that's who it looked like. To be honest, when I saw that, I thought I was dreaming. This witness's testimony matches up exactly with that of the clown.
If that's the case, there is very little the prosecution need add. All that's left is to explain how the defendant disappeared into the sky that night.
Before we get that far, I'd like to cross-examine the witness.
A foolish choice by a foolish fool who wishes to feel the foolish sadness of a sad fool. A man must know the proper timing for things, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Just like your old friend, Mr. Miles Edgeworth did.
Mr. Wright, do you have a problem with the witness's testimony? In the words of Miss Von Karma, may I quote yesterday's proceedings? There's no way that actually happened. Very well. You may proceed with your cross-examination. What I witnessed. It was just after 10 p.m. and I was resting in my bed. You said that you were resting in bed. One would thus assume that you turned the lights off in your room, correct?
That is correct. But there are safety lights around the outside of the lodging house.
It's so bright, sometimes it can make it hard to sleep. If that's the case, wouldn't it be a good idea to close some curtains?
I've never really thought of that. I guess that means I'm off to buy some curtains.
Aha! Sometimes I do make myself useful in these chambers. Oh!
The witness will proceed with his testimony. Around that time, I heard a large thump noise from outside the window.
Your room is on the 3rd floor, right?
Yes.
You said that you were resting in bed?
That is correct.
But you were still able to hear a noise from outside?
I was indeed.
Pressing acro doesn't seem to get results. But maybe something was contradictory in what he said just now.
Was there?
What's the matter, Mr. Wright? Nothing, Your Honor. Till I can find a clear contradiction, I should tread lightly.
Then, a few moments later, I saw someone flying right by my window.
Are you sure it was a human being? It could have been a mannequin, or perhaps a large action figure.
Well, setting aside the possibility of a mannequin, an action figure is possible. Plausible. You have no time to mince words with Mr. Phoenix Wright. Testify to the truth and only the truth, just as if we were there with you that night.
I believe it was a human. Damn, I just straightened his testimony. I wonder if Acro's statement jives with the facts. What's the matter, Mr. Wright? Nothing, Your Honor. Until I can find a clear contradiction, I should tread lightly.
It was Max Galactica. I saw him from behind, but that's who it looked like.
The light in your room was turned off then, right?
That's true. I was going to bed after all. So with the lights off, you were still able to clearly see a human fly by your window? The safety lights lit things up enough for me to see. But honestly, there was only enough light for me to see the silhouette outside my window. It was the person's back, so I couldn't see the white roses on the front.
Did you see any of the other symbols?
I clearly saw the silk hat, as well as the cloak wrapped around his body. I'm convinced that the person I saw was Max Galactica.
The more I press him, the less results I seem to get. But maybe there was something fishy about that last bit of testimony. There was! But I want to press everything else. When did you start thinking that what you saw wasn't a dream?
Not important.
I believe that the prosecution has done a bit of maintenance on the witness's memory. Just to make sure, let's ask the witness. Go!
Objection.
Sustained.
Don't sustain that. Acro must be lying about what he saw, right?
Of course he is. Now the challenge will be to expose his lies to the court.
Well, put the pedal to the metal, Nick.
There is a huge contradiction with the testimony that was just given.
If there's a contradiction, then prove it with evidence.
She's right. Let's see some evidence. Do you have any evidence to support your claim of a contradiction?
You claim to have seen the exact same thing Mo saw that night. Do you stand by that? What do you mean? The silk hat. What about the silk hat? I saw it on Max's head as he flew by my window.
Well, you should have tried looking down out of your window that night.
That would have been quite difficult, considering the state that I'm in. Just looking outside the window was a tough enough challenge for me.
That's a shame, because you would have noticed the silk hat found on the scene.
That's the ringmaster's hat, right?
Afraid not. No matter how you look at it, this is Max's silk hat. Where are you going with this, Mr. Wright? Are you saying that Max has two silk hats? No. This is a handmade, one-of-a-kind model made only for Maximilian Galactica. Which means, Acro, that you've been fibbing on the stand. Order! Order!
As always, it looks like someone just had to open their mouth before thinking. Are you okay, Nick?
Well, I opened my big mouth, and now I have to back it up. How about it, Mr. Wright? What would cause this witness to commit perjury in this court today? Do I just go out and say it? Your Honor, on this occasion, the defense accuses Acro himself.
On this occasion?
Accuses Acro? What in the world are you accusing him of? Obviously, we accuse him of the murder of Mr. Russell Berry. Mr. Wright, are you serious? Deadly serious, Your Honor.
Ha ha ha. I think your trips to the circus have served you well. You seem to have learned how to try and grab at an audience's hearts and minds. Your Honor, don't allow yourself to be swayed by theatrics. Trying to wow the crowd with smoke and mirrors is the oldest bluff in the book.
Really?
If you don't believe me, just look at the witness. He's calm enough for it to almost be scary.
He's staying rather calm and collected. Mr. Dingling, do you have any response to the defense's accusation?
Don't really need to say a thing, do I?
What do you mean?
Everyone, take a good look at me. I can't even stand up by myself, let alone leave the lodging house.
That's true.
I understand that Mr. Wright is trying to help his client. But to do this by accusing me of a murder of all things. See? Even a sliver of common sense makes it clear the accusation is ludicrous.
He's right. Way to pick on the disabled, you heartless, cruel man.
Phoenix is a poopy head. See that, Mr. Phoenix Wright? If you're trying to drum up support from the peanut gallery, that's how you do it. I think that's enough of this little game. I've got a doctor's note to confirm that Acro is unable to stand under his own power. Maybe the defense is planning on making a claim to counter this as well? I can hear the defense now. Acro had an accomplice.
What do you say about this, Mr. Wright? Did Acro have an accomplice?
Kind of. Kind of. Kind of. Is the bus shiny? Hang on.
It is shiny.
Impossible for Acro to be the murderer in this case. If that's the case, then it's natural for one to consider a possible accomplice.
You don't say.
Not good. Not good. This isn't going to end well. Don't tell me you think you're going to get off easy.
What?
You must not have heard that sound just now. Maybe it wasn't clear enough. The sound of you falling into your own trap can be hard to notice sometimes.
Mr. Wright, seems as if you won't be stopping at Acro, but now we'll be making other accusations. If Acro did have an accomplice, things are not looking good for you.
I understand, Your Honor.
Well, very well. Let's continue. Who, perchance, would happen to be Acro's accomplice? You don't say?
Uh-oh. This is suddenly looking very, very bad. Don't tell me you think you're going to get off easy.
What?
Oh, did you hear that? Hear what? The sound of you getting caught in your own trap. What a splendid accomplice. I'm sure this accusation is built on a solid foundation.
Foundation. Yes, Mr. Wright. Do you have any proof that this person you've accused of was indeed an accomplice? Mr. Wright.
Yes, Your Honor.
This piece of evidence is lacking in persuasive power.
You didn't miss the sound, did you, Mr. Wright? You know, the sound of you receiving a penalty. What are you doing, Nick?
What do you say about...
Of course he didn't. Now then, this must be when we get to hear the name of the mystery accomplice. Not this time, Von Karma. Well, he did kind of have an accomplice. Kind of. Kind of. What? You're not going to sucker me into this one.
What are you blabbering about, Mr. Wright?
There was no accomplice. Acro planned and committed this murder all by himself.
Order! Order! What the... What are you getting at?
Way to keep them on their toes, Nick. Now I'm going to have to prove how it all fits together. I have to show how Acro murdered Russell Berry. Can you do it, Nick? Can you really do that? I know what I can't do. I can't stop now. If I stop attacking, I'm doomed. All right, then let's do it. Mr. Phoenix Wright. If this witness is the killer, then his eyewitness account is all lies, right?
Mr. Wright, I'd like you to clear something up for me. When the crime was committed, exactly where was Mr. Dingling?
He was obviously here the entire time.
That's Acro's room?
Pretty simple, eh? Acro wasn't able to leave the lodging house by himself. In that case, there can be only one correct answer. Acro didn't leave his room to kill the ringmaster. What? Are you nuts?
What say you, Mr. Dingling?
It's an interesting theory.
That's it?
Considering that what you propose is impossible, yes, that's it.
Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. As the witness has stated, your assertion is impossible. As he is in a wheelchair, there is no way he could go to the scene or be the killer. You've got a point.
Seems you've forgotten once again, Mr. Phoenix Wright. The defendant was clearly spotted at the scene of the crime. That's true. Mo said that he saw Max, didn't he?
But Maya, it's still impossible for humans to fly.
Do you mind if I ask a question, Mr. Wright?
What is it?
I understand some of your logic. However, how do you think that I killed him? If I can't leave my room, I obviously couldn't wear Max's costume.
How did he do it?
That's the next course of this legal buffet. Be careful, Nick. If you mess up here...
She's right. I can't mess up here. I've got to give this one some serious thought. I'm sure that Acro killed the ringmaster. And he did it while he was in his room. No doubt about it. Time to enlighten us on how Mr. Dingling committed the crime, Mr. Wright. Fucking... Is this correct or not? My hand sucks right now. What do you mean, Mr. Wright? It's all been nonsense. Right? Okay. Ooh. Yes. Okay, so what exactly is the question? I'm going to present some evidence. So what did Mr. Dingling use to commit the crime of murder against Mr. Russell Bear? Okay, what did he use? He used this. What's that? A picture. It is indeed. The problem is with the item that's shown in the picture. The bust. Quite a large bust, and because it is life-size, it is also very, very heavy.
Heavy?
Heavy enough to guarantee a certain death. Especially if it was dropped from a third-story window.
Ah!
See? This is how Acro was able to kill the Ringmaster. With the force of gravity and Maximilian Galactica's ample bust. Order! Order! So you're saying the bust fell onto the Ringmaster? A rather simple crime. Even if you were stuck in a wheelchair, it would be incredibly easy to commit.
How could you possibly wheel a wheelchair with something so heavy? It's impossible.
Well, Acro is an acrobat. He should have more than enough upper body strength to carry something like the bust. Mr. Dingling, how do you respond to these charges?
Well, Acro's at a loss for words.
He should be. He knows that I'm getting close to the truth. Well, 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 Acro. You can't run from... Ow!
I'd watch what I say if I were you, Mr. Phoenix Wright.
What?
Your Honor, the physical health of the witness is material to this case. I demand that we get proper testimony from the witness himself.
Testimony, you say?
Oh, karma. He's just using this testimony as a rouse to stall for time.
There's absolutely no need for such testimony.
The defense has its version of the murder. The prosecution has the right to respond.
The defense's objection is overruled. Why can't you see things my way once in a while? Mr. Dingling, I'm sorry, but we need you to testify about your physical condition. If you have any doubts about your ability to testify, we can request expert testimony.
The witness will have no problems. However, let's all be respectful towards him. Thank you.
Ah, that woman will sink to any low to win a case. Acro's physical state.
I suppose I could have lifted something the size of that bust. I have a strong upper body from working as an acrobat, and only my legs were injured. However, lifting the bust and looking out of the window would have been impossible. There's no way I could have exerted that kind of force on my lower body. That makes it impossible for me to have known the location of the ringmaster's head. Thus, it would be unrealistic for me to drop the bust on him, don't you think?
I have no doubts in regards to this witness's testimony.
It was impossible for him to lift the bust and stick himself out far enough to look. Not to mention that he could not have known the location of the ringmaster's head. A single false step would have led to even more severe injuries.
That's what I was thinking. What is your opinion on the matter, Mr. Wright? I'd still like to proceed with my cross-examination.
He's simply stalling. It's shameful, really.
I can't let her get to me. Focus. Acro's physical state.
I suppose I could have lifted something the size of that bust.
Have you ever lifted up the bust before?
No, I've never actually lifted it up with my own 2 hands. But I should get to it, don't you think? I can't let money outdo me on this.
Money? That crazy monkey has lifted Mac's bust before? Please continue with your testimony, Mr. Dingling.
I have a strong upper body from working as an acrobat, and only my legs were injured.
So what have you been doing to keep in shape?
Well, honestly, I've given up on training. I don't have any plans to return to the trapeze or the tightrope.
You don't say.
But, no offense, I'm not worried about losing to you in a race or anything.
Neither am I, Mr. Phoenix Wright. I didn't lose either, slowpoke. I mean, Nick. Whoa. How did the discussion turn to me all of a sudden?
I suppose you could say that I'm stronger than the average bear. However, lifting the bust and looking out of the window would have been impossible.
And why is that?
Because if I were to do that, I'd end up falling out the window myself. I still haven't gotten much feeling back in my legs yet.
So you couldn't have thrown the bust out of the window?
There's no way I could have exerted that kind of force on my lower body.
How long do you think your recovery will take?
You have to remember that my nerves were severely damaged. I'm currently undergoing some extreme intensive rehabilitation, but it's still going to take a while before I'm back to 100%. Let me remind you of another very important point. If the witness was carrying the bust, he would not be able to see out below the window. That makes it impossible for me to have known the location of the ringmaster's head.
Why do you say it would be impossible?
Allow me to explain. You accept that if I was carrying the bust, I couldn't see out below the window. Thus, there is no way that I could have known the location of the ringmaster's head.
Well, I suppose you've got a point.
Hey, Nick.
Huh?
What if you turn things around? Maybe if you think of it sort of like this. If he knew the location of the ringmaster's head, then he could drop the bust.
That does make sense. If only I could prove somehow that Acro knew the location of the ringmaster's head without looking down.
I think I've already explained things sufficiently. Thus, it would be unrealistic for me to drop the bust on him, don't you think?
If all you had to do was drop it, then it wouldn't have been a problem at all.
If all I had to do was drop it, you're right. I could have done that. However, there is no way that I could have landed a direct hit on the ringmaster's head.
That kind of makes your theory a bit pointless, doesn't it, Mr. Wright? Acro is strong enough to lift up the bust.
The main problem is how could he have aimed for the ringmaster's head?
I wonder if he used some kind of tool to aim for the ringmaster.
That's the ticket, Nick. Show him what you've got.
I have to be careful. I have to find something that fits perfectly with the case.
I don't remember us finding any sort of tool, but maybe we overlooked something.
I wouldn't have known the location of the ringmaster's head. Foolish! Acro, you didn't really need to lean out the window, did you?
What are you driving at, Mr. Wright?
You already knew ahead of time where the ringmaster's head was going to be. Quite precisely, I may add.
Your silly hinting at things is pointless, Mr. Phoenix Wright.
Darling, how about you show us some evidence? But I did such a good job hinting. Yes. Hurry up and explain things, Mr. Wright. Maybe you should take a look at this. The key point here is the wooden box. The same wooden box that the victim was found hunched over. The same. The question is, who placed the wooden box here?
Who?
When Ben and company saw the ringmaster, they didn't see him holding the box. Which means that this wooden box was already placed at the scene of the crime. I have to admit that your theory makes a lot of sense. The moment that the bus came falling down was exactly the same moment that the ringmaster lifted up this wooden box. Which means that the answer to all these questions is now crystal clear.
You mean...
If the bus were to fall upon the point marked out by the wooden box, there would be no way that it could miss the head of the victim.
No!
Order! This is unbelievable! Finally, some of these loose ends are starting to tie themselves up. Now I just gotta keep going, and there's only one way to go from here. Forward. So the next question I have is, who placed the wooden box at the scene? It was Mr. Dingling, of course. He connected it to a rope, and then all he had to do was lower it down.
Ow! Allow me to whip some sense into you, Mr. Phoenix Wright.
Ow!
The ringmaster's head could have been anywhere when he lifted the box.
That's why the box was so specially made.
Specially made?
Indeed. It had the most peculiar feature. The box has a remarkable weight.
Weight?
According to the court record, it weighs 20 pounds. Just to lift up this wooden box would have required... Oh, I see. One would have to squat down, then lift it up with their body, wouldn't you say? That's exactly what I was trying to point out. The box is also very large. The box also has carrying handles on either side, doesn't it? That is correct. To lift up the box, you'd have to squat down. Which means that no matter who you are, your head would be in approximately the same place.
Fool!
Does he even bother to listen to me anymore? I've heard what you've had to say. I must admit, I'm shocked at your imaginative skills. Did you do it? Did you place this wooden box in the plaza? Mr. Wright may have a vivid imagination, but I could never have done what he's proposing. What? Mr. Wright, do you recall the original location of Max's bust? Of course I remember. It was on top of the table in the cafeteria. But what happened to it? I'd like you to remember one important fact, Mr. Wright. I cannot possibly leave the lodging house by myself.
Ah, that means...
You understand what I mean, don't you? I may very well have been able to drop the bust from my room. However, how would I have gotten the bust from the cafeteria to my room?
You see, Mr. Phoenix Wright? Explain that. Don't forget, you said there was no accomplice. Tell us exactly how the witness would have carried the bust from the cafeteria.
Yep, we definitely have a problem here. But this is no place to get perplexed. I've got to get my wits about me and prove how things happened once and for all. Alright, Mr. Wright, let's hear your explanation. How did the witness get the bus from the cafeteria back to his room? A monkey!
Everyone knows money. He loves shiny objects of any size.
Oh, like when he stole the ventriloquist ring.
So, are you saying the witness had a monkey steal the bust?
Of course he didn't order the monkey to steal it. The monkey stole it on his own, and then brought it back home. Home? Money lives in Acro's room. Acro's room?
But the bust was bronze, wasn't it? Bronze isn't all that shiny.
Maybe you should put the whip down sometimes and read the court record. My, those are some very nice cards he's holding. Yes, and they're made of platinum, which is very shiny. Acro. Money is a strong monkey, right? It'd be easy for him to bring the bus back to your room.
If he wasn't able to handle that himself, I'd be on the market for a new roommate.
Order! Order! I said order! Miss Von Karma! Where is the bust in question at this moment?
I don't know. We're searching for it as we speak.
This is a rather strange turn of events. But let's say that the monkey had not stolen the bust. What would have happened then?
Well, in that event, something else would have been used as the murder weapon. Wait. Then you mean this bust was the murder weapon purely by accident?
It's possible. Maybe Acro saw Money's mountain of stolen goods and thought to use one of them. Anyways, I think we've more than proven one critical fact. Namely, that it was entirely possible that Acro was the murderer.
Moron!
Mr. Wright's argument was so circular, I'm a bit dizzy. However, his argument does hold water. There's no denying it.
Oh! Don't seem so flamboozled, especially by this fraud of an attorney.
Fraud?
You've forgotten the absolute most important thing, Mr. Phoenix Wright.
And what is that?
You should know. You forgot that your fraud of a magical client was spotted at the scene of the crime. There's no reason to doubt the clown's testimony.
That's true. How do you respond to that, Mr. Wright?
Nick, don't let her beat you now.
I won't. This is my chance to turn this trial around.
When the murder occurred, there were two people at the scene of the crime. One was the victim, Russell Berry, and the other was the murderer himself. Answer this and only this, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Who was the murderer the clown saw?
He saw Max's bust. Oh!
I ask who was the other person Max saw on the scene. That evidence has nothing to do with the question.
Au contraire, mon frère. It does indeed have something to do with the question. Mo said that he saw Max's silhouette. But he did not actually see the man himself. It wasn't a human being he saw. How was that possible? It's simple, really. What Mo actually saw that night was Max's bust.
What are you talking about? Have you tried using your brain at all in this case? The silhouette he saw was wearing a cloak.
There's no reason why you couldn't attach a cloak to a bust. It would be easy to hang one of the cards to the bus in the bus hands.
Idiot! Who in their right mind would put a cloak on a bust?
It doesn't matter who put it on the bust. Just wait a minute now, Mr. Wright. Who put the cloak on the bust? That question is of the utmost importance to this case, don't you agree? You caught me. Let's have it, Mr. Wright. Who put the cloak on the bust?
Fool! Him?
Are you saying it was the victim himself, Russell Berry?
That's what I'm saying. The victim himself placed the cloak on the bust?
Placed the cloak isn't exactly the right way to put it. Then, what would be the right way of putting it, Mr. Wright?
Explain yourself! Nick, do you really have a handle on all this?
I'm fine, Maya. I'm actually putting all the pieces together. There's really only one picture I can paint anyways. Alright. So you want to know what really happened that night? Let's step back in time. Acro used a rope to lower the wooden box onto the scene. Then he attached that rope to the bust, and dangled the bust out of his bedroom window, directly above the wooden box. At the same time, the ringmaster told Max to wait in his room, and went to the scene. Of course, at the time, the ringmaster was wearing Max's costume. Perhaps he didn't want anyone to recognize him that night. But just as he feared, he was spotted at the entrance of the lodging house by none other than a ventriloquist and his puppet, Ben and Trillo. When the ringmaster arrived at the scene, he bent over to lift the wooden box. That's when Acro took his chance and released the rope. Now this is when the magic happens. At the very instant that the bust hit the victim.
You just wait a second there, Mr. Phoenix Wright. As much as you try, as much as you scheme, this just isn't true. It can't be.
Still a little early to be getting so upset, Miss Von Karma. This circus isn't over yet.
What?
The impact of the bust on the victim threw the cloak up, which snagged onto the bust. That impact also caused the sound a certain witness heard, prompting him to take a look. That witness was, of course, Lawrence Moe Curls, the clown. When Moe looked out his window, the cloak had already snagged onto the bust. Now, having completed the crime, Acro naturally went about pulling up the murder weapon. Of course, he had no idea that Max saw the bust being raised with the cloak dangling on it. Primarily because, in his wheelchair, he couldn't see out of his window. So he just kept pulling the bust up. And that is how the magical murderer disappearing into the sky came to be. So you see, the only person who could have pulled this off is the one person who was able to drop the murder weapon from above the crime scene. Acro, it could only have been you.
Acro's been playing mind games with all of us.
He sure has. But he has come to the end of his rope now.
So?
What now?
You've graced us with a rather long-winded tale. But do you have any evidence to prove that your fairy tale is true?
Evidence?
In this court, only two things matter. The power of evidence and the power of my whip.
Don't forget the power of my gavel as well. Mr. Wright, the prosecution brings up a good point. Can we see some evidence?
Nick, they say they want evidence.
I just explained how there can only be one possible murder method. There is still something unusual about Moe's eyewitness account.
Unusual?
A contradiction, actually.
Okay then, use that and get out of this jam.
That's enough talking amongst yourselves. Proceed, Mr. Wright. Present some evidence to the court that backs your claims. I want hard proof that you have unraveled the trick to this magic case.
Is it the hat again?
The greatest magician? Okay. It has to do with a contradiction in Moe's testimony. So it can't be this new evidence. It can't be the pepper. Moe wouldn't have known. It can't be Leon. Not Money the Monkey. I think it has something to do... One of two things. It has something to do with the fact that the white roses are missing. Max has 3 symbols. Still cat, cloak, white roses. The bust, though, does not have the white roses. So, that's where it's missing. However, we're talking about Moe's testimony. Moe did not see the white roses. He saw the silk hat and the cloak. The silk hat is here. And the silk hat was at the crime scene. That's how there's 2 silk hats. I think that's the contradiction. Because if it has to do with Moe's testimony, that's how there can be 2 silk hats. One that left the scene and one that's still at the scene. I think it's this again. I think it's the silk hat again. Yes! The problem is Max's 3 symbols. You know, the silk hat, the cloak, and the white roses. The symbols were a problem numerous times during yesterday's proceedings. Yesterday, there were 2 contradictions in Moe's testimony. The silk hat was one, the white roses were the other. But the theory I just presented explains all of these contradictions. You fool, do you ever shut up? Max's silk hat was found at the scene of the crime. However, remember what Moe said yesterday. He testified that the criminal he saw fleeing the scene was wearing a silk hat. There's only one explanation for that. The silk hat that Moe saw was actually the bus. Makes sense. If you look at it that way, then he did see the silk hat. Well, sort of.
Fine, you've got that one, but what about the other contradiction?
The other contradiction?
Remember what that ventriloquist said in court. He said that he witnessed white roses on Max's chest that night. But the clown's testimony doesn't match. The clown said that there were no white roses. I'd like to see you try and explain that one away. Can you do it, Nick?
Of course. I can explain all of it.
What was that?
Please recall the instant when the cloak snagged onto the bust. If the cloak snagged onto the bust, what happened to the white roses? Do you get it yet? If the cloak got snagged onto the front of the bust, it means that the white roses would end up on the back of the bust. Which explains why Moe didn't see them. White roses were not visible because they were on the back of the bust. Order! Order! This is quite the shocking state of affairs. Mr. Wright's theory still sounds a bit absurd to me. However, let's just keep going down this road for a while and see where it leads.
Let's do this, Nick. Then maybe Von Karma will finally throw in the towel. Well, so much for that theory. Mr. Wright, do you mind?
What is it?
You took the time to research our circus, didn't you?
Well, yes, I did. Is there something making you think that I didn't?
If you did, then maybe you'll understand why I think you're off track.
Why is that?
Motive. This witness feels an incredible debt of gratitude towards the ringmaster. Anyone with any relation to the circus is well aware of this. Thus, there's absolutely no way someone like this could kill the ringmaster. Your Honor, I'd like you to hear Acro's story. Learn about his relationship with the ringmaster and his life up until now. What do we do? There's no doubting that Acro deeply respected the ringmaster.
Acro's motive. Seems that this case isn't over yet. Very well. However, I feel this is a good place to take a break. I will listen to the rest of Mr. Dingling's testimony after recess. This court will now take a 10-minute recess.
Gulp.
Let's do this.
December 30th, 2:17 p.m. District Court Defendant Lobby number 5. Can't believe it! Acro!
It's pretty shocking, isn't it?
It definitely is! And to think he was always the most straightforward of the group! Jeebus! Am I that hated? Acro tried to pin the murder on you on purpose. He did? But, I'm nothing but a little old nobody, you know? But you're not, which is kind of the reason why...
Hey, pal! You're gonna ignore me after I went to all this trouble to bring you some evidence?
Ah, Detective Gumshoe.
Forget it. I'm going home. This guy deserves to be guilty anyway. Now, Detective. I'm sorry. Look, why don't you relax a bit?
We've got some really tasty milk.
How about a card trick, Detective? Oh, well, if you insist.
How about that evidence you mentioned? What is it?
Here you go.
Huh? This was yesterday in Acro's room.
Yep, and I've included the forensic results. Take a look at it later.
Won't Miss Von Karma be mad that you're doing this?
That's why this is all a secret. Huh? Look, details are on a need-to-know basis, and we're not really allies or anything. But everything that happened in court up until now has gone according to our plan.
I don't know. Miss Von Karma didn't seem in control of things in there just now.
You'll figure it out eventually, pal. Yesterday, our final plans were set into motion.
Final plans?
Uh-huh. That reminds me, I've got a message from the prosecutor for you. Nothing is ever truly decided until the very end. That's it. And that's it for me too, pal. I'm out of here.
What did he mean by that? The very end part?
I'm not sure. It was all pretty cryptic to me. Oh, one more thing.
Ah! Don't scare me like that!
It looks like there's a large care package from the circus for the defendant.
What? For me?
It's milk. The reception area looks like some sort of dairy. So hurry up and drink it all before it spoils.
Entire dairy's worth of milk? For me?
(2:27 p.m.) Court is now back in session. Miss Von Karma, please continue from where you left off.
Bat scarf stained with his blood and a small quantity of pepper. I'd like to continue with Acro's testimony, starting with his relationship to the victim. I'd also like to get proof from the defense. Proof of what kind of motive Acro would have to commit this crime.
Understood. Now, Mr. Dingling.
Yes, Your Honor.
Please proceed with your testimony.
Finally, we get to the motive. Wait, Nick, are you okay?
Just do me a favor and don't ask questions you don't want the answer to.
No.
About the ringmaster.
When we were little, we were abandoned by our parents. That's when the ringmaster of the Berry Big Circus, Russell Berry, took us in. I became an acrobat at around 9 years old. I wanted to find a way to repay the ringmaster. That was my sole purpose in life.
You're such a thoughtful young man.
As you heard, the witness deeply respected the victim. I wonder how anyone could think that Acro would kill the man he held in such esteem.
You're absolutely right. How could anyone think that, Mr. Wright? Which is why there's no real need for a cross-examination, is there? Actually, that's the question I'm trying to answer myself. Why would Acro kill the ringmaster? This might be my last chance to answer that question. The defense has a right to cross-examine the witness.
You're so tactless, Mr. Phoenix Wright. You don't care about justice, do you? You just want to fabricate a motive.
Very well. Mr. Wright, cross-examine the witness. About the ringmaster.
When we were little, we were abandoned by our parents.
We?
Yes, my brother Sean and I.
What? You have a brother?
How old were you when this happened, Acro? I was 8 years old, and my brother was 4.
Your parents were very cruel, weren't they?
Nowadays, we aren't bitter about what happened to us, because it allowed us to meet the wonderful people at the Berry Big Circus. Nick, the judge is getting misty-eyed.
He's got a soft spot for sob stories, it looks like. Ow!
No crying in court. Let's keep going.
The witness may proceed with his testimony.
That's when the ringmaster of the Berry Big Circus, Russell Berry, took us in.
How would you describe your relationship with the ringmaster?
He was like an uncle, a father, and a big brother all rolled up into one. The ringmaster and my brother were the only family I had.
What about the other people at the circus?
This was over 15 years ago. Back then, there were very few customers coming in, so no one really had the time to look after us. They were worried about other things. But the ringmaster, he would always come see us with a laugh and a smile. What a beautiful story. That's why I was always thinking of what I could do to help. I wanted to thank him. Nick, isn't Acro such a wonderful person?
I know, he seems like a nice guy, which is what makes this so difficult. So then how long have you been a performer?
I became an acrobat at around 9 years old.
You started off as an acrobat at that early of an age?
I begged the ringmaster until he finally agreed to let me do it. Ever since then, I've been in incredible physical shape. That's also when I decided to form a group with my brother. We called ourselves the Flying Dinglingberries. Nearly a household name. I've even heard of them in Germany.
Liar.
Point is that I wanted to be of some use to the circus.
You are truly a remarkable young man. The judge keeps looking at Acro almost like a proud father.
I wanted to find a way to repay the ringmaster. That was my sole purpose in life.
Did you ever find have any trouble with the ringmaster?
Ow! How could you ask such a thing, Mr. Phoenix Wright? Do you have some sort of fundamental misunderstanding of this witness's testimony? Or the heartfelt emotions contained within? You better think about this, Mr. Phoenix Wright. You better think hard.
Ow! Ow! Wow! No matter how you look at it, there's no way I could see this witness ever taking the victim's life.
Exactly. I've been waiting for you to say that, Your Honor. Nick, I hate to say it, but I agree with them.
I was trying to chase down the truth, but I ended up just looking like a jerk. I think that will be enough for now. Hello? I think that will be enough for now. Pondering whether or not this man would kill the ringmaster leads me to believe that it is pretty unlikely.
Exactly right, Your Honor.
Mr. Wright, I'd like to ask you a question.
Go ahead, Your Honor.
I would just like to know, can you provide an explanation as to why Acro would want the ringmaster dead?
Nick?
Yeah, I didn't even have to think about it. It was obvious from the start. Your Honor, the reason that Acro killed the ringmaster is something that can't be proven. What? That's because Acro had no reason to kill the ringmaster at all. Ow!
Your foolish attempts to fool us like foolish fools is so foolhardily foolish. Did you forget you made an accusation against this witness, did you not? I believe it was. This is the real killer of Russellberry, ringmaster?
If you want to jump to the end of things, then yes, that sounds about right. The end of things? Acro, you didn't plan to kill the ringmaster at all, did you? The ringmaster wasn't your target that night.
What did you just say?
I'm saying that the target of this witness's murderous plot was not the ringmaster. Because it was never his intention to kill Russellberry to begin with.
What?
Order! Order! Bailiff, I don't care who it is, smack anyone who's louder in the face. Twice if you must. Mr. Wright, what in the world are you trying to do to my court?
Oh! Mr. Wright, what in the world are you trying to do to his court? Are you attempting to imply that Acro was trying to kill someone else? Regina Barry?
This young girl is the ringmaster's daughter, correct? Acro, you were really aiming for her that night, weren't you?
You don't need to answer that. It's a mean-spirited leading question.
He could easily answer this question. If I'm wrong, all he has to say is you're wrong. That's it.
It, huh, Mr. Phoenix Wright?
Enough! Mr. Wright, allow me to... Oh!
The only thing allowed to interrupt me is death itself.
Huh?
And that goes for you too, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Show me evidence. Now! I want to know why Acro would want to kill Regina Barry.
Yes, me too. I demand to see some proof. Present some evidence that proves Acro was out to kill this young girl. Acro, you remember this, don't you? That. It's a piece of paper that we found inside the ringmaster's tailcoat. Inside the victim's tailcoat. Acro wrote this note. It's ironically entitled, To the Murderer. Its purpose was to call someone to the plaza at 10 p.m. So you're saying that he called Russellberry with that note? Yes, but there's just one little problem. Problem? Acro did indeed place this note into someone's pocket. However, that someone was not the ringmaster.
You mean it wasn't for the...
That's exactly what I mean. The person this note was intended for was none other than Regina Barry. Order! 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 Mr. Wright, this little theory of yours... It's the truth, Your Honor. It isn't a theory. Simply put, Regina didn't think the note was meant for her. Which is why, the morning of the crime, she placed it on the cafeteria bulletin board.
When her father... When the ringmaster saw the note.
That's correct. The ringmaster ended up in the plaza instead of Regina. And he was killed because of that mistake, instead of Regina. That's incredible! Remember the testimony that Acro gave us earlier today.
Lifting the bust and looking out of the window would have been impossible. There's no way I could have exerted that kind of force on my lower body. If I were to do that, I'd end up falling out the window myself.
Acro had no idea who it was that arrived in the plaza, because he couldn't look down out of his window to see who it actually was. I've got it! I've got it! Acro thought it was Regina down at the plaza. And that's when he let the bust fly.
Hey, Nick, isn't Regina listening to all of this from the audience?
She is. Unfortunately, it's only going to get harsher from here.
I hope Regina can handle it.
Acro wrote this note to Regina.
Foolishly foolish fool, who foolishly foolish fool with foolishly foolish fool ideas. You're so foolish you've made me even sound like a foolhard fool. Very well, Mr. Phoenix Wright. If you're so sure, then tell us about this line. I have conclusive evidence of what took place.
Yes, what about that line?
Well, if the note was meant for Regina Barry, it would mean that this note is declaring that Regina Barry is a murderer.
You just don't get it, do you?
What? What did you just say?
The ringmaster knew what the note meant, which is why he went to the plaza, in place of his lovely daughter. Hold it right there, Mr. Wright! What is this incident that is alluded to in the note? The incident 6 months ago. An incident occurred 6 months ago, and now I am more than ready to show this court what happened at that time.
Moron!
Wait, are you sure that it relates to the present case? It does indeed, Your Honor. Everything in this case has its start in what happened 6 months ago.
Really, Nick?
I think so.
Well then, if that's the case, hurry up and tell us about it. What is this conclusive evidence mentioned in the note? I know I'd certainly like to know what it is.
I can't answer that question. The judge is going to think I'm bluffing. The conclusive evidence about the incident 6 months ago is actually... What? What is it? Well, kind of figure I'd try to get rid of... Damn it. Is it the pepper? Please present this in conclusive evidence. Maybe it's the pepper. Achoo! 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 Oh!
What kind of spicy joke is this, Mr. Phoenix Wright?
It isn't a joke at all. It's the decisive evidence you asked for. What do you mean? Recall that the victim was trying to take the wooden box away with him. He was doing this because of decisive... He was doing so because this piece of decisive evidence is what was inside. Another unbelievable conclusion! Very well, Mr. Wright. So what exactly are you saying? Are you claiming Regina Barry killed someone with a small bottle of pepper? Taking the note into account, that's the only logical conclusion you could draw.
Foolish fool who never tires of his own foolish ways. If you're so sure, Mr. Wright, then answer this question. Who was Regina Barry's intended victim?
Who is this? That is Acro's younger brother.
What does this prove? His younger brother isn't dead.
Technically, that's true. However, Bat has been in a coma for 6 months now. Not a stretch to see how Agro would feel that his brother is dead. Regina, she did that to him?
Do you spend your entire life dreaming up new ways to be a fool? Naturally, the prosecution has looked into Acro's brother, Sean Dingling. 6 months ago, he was bit by a lion and fell into his current comatose state.
A lion?
Miss Regina, is an animal tamer by trade. However, no tamed animal in that position is ever trained to attack another human. They wouldn't understand the command. Moreover, Miss Regina could never do something like that. It's just not in her.
Well then what happened to Acro's brother?
He's not the victim of attempted murder. He's the victim of an accident.
I see.
Now what do we do? No one seems to be going along with your theory. Do you think what happened to Bat was actually an accident? Like, it was an accident. It was an accident. It was technically an accident. But it was an accident that Regina caused. The lion-biting Bat was no accident at all.
What?
You're such an amateur, Mr. Phoenix Wright. There's no way that Regina would ever incite her lion to attack another human being.
They may not have incited the lion to attack another human being, but Regina is responsible for making the lion bite Acro's brother, Bat. That's just a scarf. Acro. This scarf is something that Bat used to wear, correct?
That's right.
And who is the one that gave this scarf to Bat?
Regina. Regina gave it to him.
Regina? There's something more than just blood on this scarf, Your Honor. What might that be? Pepper. Pepper? Pepper. Regina gave this scarf to Bat right before the accident, and she covered it with as much pepper as she could. Hey, what's with the silent treatment? Excuse me, Mr. Wright. You've done a good job of fingering a criminal. But out of curiosity, what was her crime? Miss Barry gave a pepper-covered scarf to Bat as a present. Where's the crime in that?
Still, it seems like the judge just doesn't get it. Mr. Phoenix Wright. Wasn't it said the lion seemed to be smiling?
Smiling? The lion was smiling?
Right before Bat was bit by the lion. For a moment, the lion's mouth changed, and it looked like he was smiling.
Lions smile?
I've never heard of them smiling. However, lions sneeze.
Leon wasn't trying to bite Bat at all. In reality, all he actually did was sneeze. He sneezed because of all the pepper on the scarf. What?
You fool!
You've got to be kidding me. What's the matter, Miss Bon Karma?
I object for objection's sake. Mr. Phoenix Wright, this theory, you believe it? You really intend to say that this is how this joke of an accident actually happened?
Of course I do. It's the truth. The lion sneezed due to the pepper, and that's when Bat lost consciousness. Acro nearly lost his brother to this accident, or this joke, as you put it. Which is why he tried to get his revenge against Regina.
You foolish idiot!
It almost does seem like a terrible joke, doesn't it? Once again, I'm impressed by your imagination, Mr. Wright. To think that there's someone who treats this accident with the respect it deserves. Are you telling me that what I said was true?
Acro, you can't mean... Witness?
Are you confirming the defense's claim?
Mr. Wright, unfortunately, your imagination is not enough to find me guilty of murder.
What do you mean by that?
The pepper, the scarf, the lion. I see where you're going, but it's a bit hard to swallow. Not to mention the fact that there's an even bigger problem with your theory.
What would that problem be?
The same problem it's always been. Evidence. If I dropped Max's bust on top of the ringmaster, where is the evidence that proves that claim?
You mean the conclusive evidence?
The biggest problem is the murder weapon, or the lack thereof, to be more precise.
The murder weapon. The bust that the defense claims was used. If that were to be found in Acro's room, and if it was covered with the victim's blood, that would be awfully conclusive in my eyes.
Yes, it would be.
The bust.
Nick, you've got to do something!
This is the last step. If I get this one right, the case is won. The defense requests to search the room of the witness, Ken Dingling. What is it now?
It looks like you still haven't figured things out, have you? By now, you must know the meaning of von Karma total justice.
You mean...
Von Karma never leaves anything to chance. We already searched Acro's room yesterday.
What did you find?
There's no reason to even say it. If we found what you think we found in that room, Acro would not be here as a witness. But to put a point on it, Max's bust was not in the room. The murder weapon is still unaccounted for. You see, Mr. Wright, the bust wasn't in my room. Furthermore, Detective Dick Gumshoe executed the search by complete surprise, and we took Acro directly to the prosecutor's office after that. End of story.
Just wait a second. Something's funny about all this.
It looks like you lack the final nail to put into my coffin.
But, what about the scarf? What about the note?
What about them, Mr. Wright? No offense, but the only evidence that is relevant here is that which pertains to the death of the ringmaster. You should know that by now.
Ugh.
Do something, Nick. Don't let this case slip away. The bust, where is it now? Where's the bust right now? It's Phoenix Wright. You know where the bust is, I'm sure you do.
There's not even a single clue. How am I supposed to know where the bust is? Seems this case is coming to a close. The defense's counterarguments look to have fallen short.
Thank you for your support. I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Wright.
I think that brings to an end the cross-examination of this witness.
Where is Max's bust? The defense needs time to prepare to present its case. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous and I just bit my tongue.
Huh?
What? We need time to do what? Ow! Why are you the most surprised person here? She's your aide, isn't she?
Do you really have a case to present, Mr. Wright? Are you asking me?
The rest is up to you, Nick. Good luck.
Hey, wait. You can't be serious.
Acrobats always have their lives on the line, don't they? That's how Acro's lived his life up until now. Now it's time for us to walk across our own tightrope. If we don't, we're certain to lose.
Very well. The defense may proceed.
He doesn't have a clue, and I don't think he'll be finding one anytime soon.
Walking the tightrope of logic. There's no room for a false step. Sink or swim, the only way through is forward.
The murder weapon. Where is Max's bust now?
It's obvious. The bust is inside this very courtroom. It's obviously where? Allow me to pinpoint the location of the bust once and for all. Acro, I'm sorry to ask this, but do you mind if I take the blanket off your wheelchair?
I'm sorry. I didn't quite hear you, Mr. Wright.
Well, you are a big guy, and you have a pretty big wheelchair because of it. I just wanted to make sure you weren't hiding anything under that blanket, because it seems to me that it'd be really easy to say, I bust under there.
Once again, your penchant for humor hits me where it hurts, Mr. Wright.
I think it's pretty amazing that you can laugh in your position. However, your lightheartedness doesn't change the fact that the bust is under there. We all know that you can't leave the lodging house by yourself in your condition. That proved inconvenient when Miss Von Karma happened to search your room yesterday. If she had found the murder weapon in your room, it would have been all over. Which is why you had to hide it, and the only place that you could hide it. Under your wheelchair. Which is why, Acro, I have to ask you again. Would you please remove the blanket from your lap?
Well done, Mr. Wright. Masterfully played. You fool! Could you?
You've got me. I've been bagged by a real pro. Actually, two of them. Two of them. Miss Franziska von Karma and Mr. Phoenix Wright.
What?
There's just one thing I'd like to know. How did you know to launch the surprise search on my room last night? There were two pieces of decisive evidence, the cloak and the bust. I burned the cloak in my room and threw the ashes away with the trash. Regina always took my trash out every morning, you know. But the bust, obviously I couldn't throw that away. When you executed your search, all I could do was try and hide the bust. And the only place that I could hide it quickly was under my wheelchair. Miss Von Karma, you had things all figured out, didn't you? I was completely sucked in by your calculated strategy. And now to be caught in the middle of court hiding the murder weapon. There's no way I can escape that. So you've got me. Well done, Mr. Wright. Well done, Miss Von Karma. All makes sense now.
I can't believe that Von Karma thought that far ahead. It's amazing.
Uh-huh. You definitely couldn't tell by looking at her. I know I sure couldn't.
I can't believe it. Me make a mistake? Why did I order a surprise search of your room? Only I hadn't done that.
Seems we finally arrived at the truth. Acro. Yes, Your Honor. Did you kill the ringmaster of the Berry Big Circus, Mr. Russell Berry? Yes, Your Honor. I'm responsible for that crime.
Acro.
All my brother wanted was for Regina to like him. That's why he'd tease her. One day, my brother sprinkled some pepper on Regina. He started sneezing so hard you couldn't help yourself from laughing. That's why Regina thought it'd be funny to get him back in the same way. And that's why she covered the scarf with pepper. I know she didn't mean for anything bad to happen. I know this. She just wanted to make my brother sneeze a few times too. But I just couldn't forgive her, no matter what. What am I truly guilty of? I'm guilty of never ever being able to understand her. Your brother became a star. Regina believes in that so purely that she would laugh innocently when saying it. Too innocently. I just couldn't stand it, no matter how hard I tried.
That's when you decided to do something about Regina. How dreadful.
Are you saying that you are a victim in all of this as well?
No, that's not what I mean. I'm nothing but a murderer. That's who I am. At first, I thought I'd kill myself. Then I pondered giving myself up. But I couldn't just give up and leave. I just couldn't. Not yet. That's why I tried to pin this on Max. Max, I'm so sorry. I just couldn't up and leave yet.
This has been such a strange case. It's almost a reflection of the circus itself.
I'm an idiot. I can't believe it. You beat me again.
I believe this case is now beyond any point of possible discussion. Thus, I'd like to declare my verdict. This court is adjourned.
4:27 p.m.
Fabulous! But to be honest, I can't really be too happy about this.
Acro, the ringmaster, Regina, and Bat. Not a single one of them was a bad person inside, huh?
That's a good question, and one I don't know the answer to. Many congrats! But only a max! Million of them! Thank you. What's with the vibe in this room?
We're just thinking about Acro.
No. You worry about people too much, then you'll be like this forever and never be happy.
Huh?
I'm not doing that. She's been like this for a while now.
It's all my fault.
Sweetie pie.
Pat and Acro, they're never coming back. Now everyone's gonna split up. Regina, Mr. Wright, tell me something.
What do you want to know, Regina?
Acro said something right at the end.
I just couldn't up and leave yet.
Does that mean that Acro... Is he gonna try to get his revenge on me?
Of course he is. He's not gonna do that to you, Regina.
Are you sure? You're really sure? I can believe that?
Yep. Acro doesn't have any desire for revenge anymore.
If that's true, then I want to see some evidence.
Huh?
I want to know you're not just making up that stuff about Acro not wanting revenge.
Acro didn't want to get caught for a reason. He wanted to see his brother open his eyes again.
Bat! That's right, Regina. He's still alive, you know. I never knew. But now that Acro's been caught...
Uh-huh.
I know!
What?
I'll do it. I'll stay next to Bat as long as it takes. Until he opens his eyes. And then until we can meet Acro again.
So sweet of you, Regina.
I'm sorry, Acro. I'm sorry, Bat.
Well, hopefully this is enough to give her a little peace of mind. Hey, Max. What is it, Mo? We really put you through a lot, didn't we, buddy? I'm sorry about what happened. So whenever you'd like to leave us, I'll pay your fee and rip up the contract. I understand. What a fabulous thing to do for me. I might even leave tomorrow. What's going to happen to the circus now? Ah, that's the big question. Our ringmaster was really an amazing person, wasn't he? Even though he's not here anymore, everyone is sticking together. The staff, the performers, no one wants to leave the circus. That's why I've made a decision.
What is it?
I've decided that I will take over as the new ringmaster. I'll turn this circus into the best circus this world has ever seen.
The best circus the world has ever seen?
Don't laugh. It's quite the goal.
Yay, I can't wait! Then I guess that changes things.
Huh?
There's only one thing the best circus the world has ever seen needs. The world's best illusions. Which means the circus needs the best magician the world has ever seen.
Max.
Let's work together and make our circus super fabulous! What do you say, big guy?
I don't know what to say. All I can say is thank you.
Regina, you're gonna help them out too, aren't you? I don't know. Maybe the circus would be better off without me.
What are you talking about, Regina?
Why do you think that I brought you to court today?
We've got to work together to make the Very Big Circus bigger than it's ever been.
Mo's right, sweetie pie. It can't be the Very Big Circus without Regina Barry.
Max.
Nick! Seems like everything is going to turn out all right here. I can't wait to go see the best circus the world has ever seen. We'll save you the most fabulous seats.
It'll take us a while to get ready, but I'm gonna order special whoopee cushion seats. Go away, go away.
I see. What made the case?
Yesterday's surprise raid really paid off, just like you said it would, sir. You had it all figured out, didn't you?
It was just a theory. If Acro really was the killer, I thought this was the only way it could end. Especially if he was the defense attorney.
You mean Mr. Wright?
Of course. Well, Detective, my plane is about to leave. As for Mr. Acro's case, you need not worry. I plan to personally stop by the Chief Prosecutor's office as soon as I get back.
Understood, sir.
I'll be waiting
for you, Mr. Edgeworth. Turnabout Big Top. The end. A brand new episode. I would love to save my progress. Farewell, my turnabout. Hoo boy, that one's gonna be a doozy. But that's it for now. That case was... Oh, honestly, I like that case. I like that case a decent bit. I think the biggest problem is the first investigation, and then midpoint of the trial, the connection of how did the cloak get on the bust, pointing to Russell Berry. Like, I can see the connection, but I feel like that's a stretch. That's a bit of a stretch. That's a bit of an ask. I'm not sure. Like, knowing how it happened, like, it makes sense. But it probably would have took me forever to actually pinpoint and figure out if I didn't already know that twist was coming. See, that's the problem. And considering how many people get stuck on that particular part, I think it's a very, very hard connection to actually make. So, like, the first investigation and then that particular part in the second trial, or second set of trials, I think that's what Turnabout Big Top is really does have a problem with. Overall, though, I still think it's a pretty decent case. It's definitely not the worst case. There's much worse case, in my opinion. the Lost Turnabout. In this very game, the Lost Turnabout. I do not like the Lost Turnabout. I think it's dumb and stupid. The very first case in the Phoenix Wright game, sure, it's a tutorial case, but it's also kind of bland. I also particularly hate cases that show the antagonist right off the bat. So Turnabout Sisters in Phoenix Wright 1 is also a bit of a killer for me. Uh so I think this is pretty good. I do not like cases that spoil the killer, which for my knowledge there's only those 3, I think. So we should be good now. We should be good to go now. Every other case should be like a genuine mystery. And that's great. That's awesome. But that's going to be it for now. Thank you all for watching, especially if you got this far, and stick around, because there's a lot more to come.